The wind was strong that night. The trees near Jacob's small wooden house creaked and bent under the force of the storm. He sat alone near the fireplace, drinking a cup of tea, his old dog sleeping at his feet. Everything felt quiet until the sky suddenly turned bright. A loud boom shook the earth. Jacob dropped his cup and rushed to the window. The sky was on fire, something falling fast, leaving a trail of blue flames. It crashed beyond the trees behind his house. The dog barked wildly. Jacob grabbed his jacket and a flashlight. He didn't know what to expect. Maybe a meteor, maybe a military test gone wrong. But as he walked through the tall grass, he noticed something strange. The air smelled like metal, and the ground was warm. Then he saw it. A glowing silver pod had smashed into the field. It hissed, cracked open slowly, and let out a cloud of cold white mist. Jacob raised his hand to shield his eyes. As the mist cleared, he saw a small figure inside. It was not human. She looked like a little girl, maybe 8 years old, but her skin was a soft shade of purple. She had big, glowing eyes, golden like twin suns, and tiny glowing lines moving across her arms. She was curled up, shaking and afraid. Jacob didn't move. The girl looked up at him, her eyes full of fear and confusion. She reached out slowly, then pulled her hand back as if expecting pain. "I won't hurt you," Jacob said gently, though he knew she wouldn't understand. She made a strange sound, something like a bird's cry, then tried to step out of the pod. Her legs were weak. She fell. Jacob rushed forward and caught her before she hit the ground. Her skin was cold, but she felt alive. He wrapped her in his jacket and carried her back toward the house. Every few steps, he looked at the sky. No ships, no lights, just clouds rolling by. Inside the house, he placed her on the couch and added wood to the fire. She looked around like she didn't trust anything. Her small hands gripped his jacket tightly. She didn't speak his language, but her eyes kept asking the same question, "Am I safe?" Jacob brought her a blanket and some water. She sniffed. It then slowly drank. She seemed to relax just a little. The dog came closer, sniffed her, then curled back near the fire. "What the hell are you, girl?" Jacob whispered to himself. He checked the news note reports of crashes. No alerts from the military. It was like nothing had happened. She slept on the couch that night, her face calm but tired. Jacob sat in his chair, watching her, wondering what to do. He couldn't call the authorities. They'd take her away. They might hurt her. He didn't trust them. In the middle of the night, she woke up crying. Not loud, just soft, broken sounds. Jacob came over and sat beside her. She looked at him with wide, scared eyes and did something that shocked him. She reached out and held his hand. He didn't pull away. She needed someone. She was alone, scared, and far from home. He didn't know why she came here, but he knew. One thing, she didn't fall from the sky by mistake. In the morning, she was still there, curled in his blanket, sleeping like any child would. Jacob made breakfast. The smell of eggs and toast filled the house. She woke up slowly, sniffing the air, then sat up. Jacob placed a plate in front of her. She touched the food with her fingers, then tasted it. Her eyes lit up with surprise. He smiled. "Is he not bad, huh?" She tried to smile back, a tiny one, nervous and unsure, but it was real. Outside, a soft hum filled the air. Jacob stepped outside quickly. A ship, small and silent, flew overhead, scanning the area. He froze, not blinking, heart pounding. Ship passed. He went back inside and found her hiding under the couch, shaking. She had seen that ship before, and it terrified her. Jacob kneeled and looked into her eyes. "You're not going back with them," he said softly. "Not while I'm breathing." The girl didn't understand his words, but she understood his voice. And that night, for the first time since she fell from the sky, she slept without fear. But neither of them knew this was only the beginning, because someone else had already started searching for her, and they were getting closer. The girl sat by the window, watching birds move through the trees. Her small fingers traced invisible lines on the glass. Jacob had noticed she liked the light, the wind, and the sky, but every time a plane passed above, she crouched low and covered her head. He had tried speaking to her, but she only tilted her head or blinked slowly. She made soft sounds, sometimes sharp whistles, sometimes low hums, almost like music. Still, no words came that he could understand. Jacob walked over, holding a small bowl of soup. "You need to eat," he said kindly. She looked at him then. The bowl carefully, she took it and sipped. Her face stayed blank, but her eyes softened. That was something. It had been 5 days since he found her in the pod. She hadn't tried to leave. She didn't look out the front door, only the back window, where the forest stood deep and quiet. Jacob noticed she often stared at the stars at night, as if listening. One afternoon, while cleaning the pod wreckage he had hidden in the barn, Jacob found something shiny. It was a flat metal disc. No buttons, no wires, yet it blinked once. When he picked it up, he'd brought it inside. When the girl saw it, she stood up quickly. Her hands trembled. She reached for it. "Is this yours?" Jacob asked. She took it with great care and pressed it to her chest. The blinking light turned steady. Suddenly a voice came from the disc, not hers, but a recorded message. It was a woman's voice, speaking in an alien language, gentle, full of emotion. The girl closed her eyes and let the sound wash over her like warm rain. Jacob didn't understand a word, but he understood the feeling. The message was filled with love, sadness, and longing. It was a mother's voice. After the message ended, the girl looked at Jacob. Her eyes were wet. He pointed at the disc. "Your mother?" She nodded once. That was the moment he made a choice. He knelt down in front of her and said, "You need a name." She stared at him, confused. He thought for a long moment, then smiled. "Hope," he said. "That's what you are to me. A light in this quiet, old life." She didn't repeat the word, but her head tilted, and she smiled back. From that moment on, he called her Hope. She responded every time. Hope followed Jacob through his routines, feeding the animals, planting vegetables, collecting rainwater. She did it all in silence, but her eyes followed every movement. Slowly, she started helping on her own. She cleaned his tools without being asked. She stacked wood beside the fireplace. She even fixed the old generator using only gestures and sparks from her fingertips. Jacob laughed when the lights came back on after weeks of darkness. "Well, Hope, maybe you're the smartest person on this planet." Hope gave a proud little nod. Still, trouble brewed outside their quiet world. One morning, a tall man in a gray suit arrived. His truck had no plates. He claimed to be from an energy company checking for leakage from a meteor impact. Jacob played dumb. "I didn't see anything fall," he said. The man looked around, eyes scanning the house, the trees, even the roof. "Strange," the man said. "We detected something ... unique." He handed Jacob a card. No name, no title, just a symbol, sharp edges around a black star. Hope, hiding behind the curtain, saw that symbol. She froze. Her hands shook again. Her lips moved without sound. Jacob saw her expression and gently moved between her and the window. The man's eyes narrowed. "If you find anything unusual, call us. It's safer that way. For you." Jacob nodded but said nothing. After the man left, Hope sat curled in a corner, hugging her knees. Jacob walked over, placed a blanket around her, and sat beside her in silence. That night, she took a piece of chalk and drew the symbol on the floor. Then she crossed it out with 2 sharp lines. Jacob asked softly, "The people chasing you... ... is this them?" Hope didn't speak, but her tears said enough. That night, for the first time, she spoke one human word: Dad. Jacob froze. He looked. At her heart, full eyes burning, she looked back, unsure if she had said it right. He didn't answer with words. He pulled her into his arms and held her close. Outside, the wind picked up again, and far above, a satellite blinked red, tracking something small, something alive. Hope had been found. But Jacob would not let her go. Not now. Not ever. The sun hadn't risen yet, but Jacob was already awake. He sat at the kitchen table, staring at the small silver disc, the one Hope had pressed to her chest days ago. It was smooth and cold, like it didn't belong on Earth. He turned it over. again and again, trying to understand it. Hope slept in the room next to his. She had learned to close her eyes at night now, to eat with a spoon, to use the sink to wash her hands. But one thing hadn't changed. She still jumped at loud sounds and always kept the blanket pulled tightly around her when she sat alone. Jacob's thoughts were broken by a strange hum. The disc had started glowing again, just barely. He picked it up carefully. A small projection, appeared a moving image. A woman with the same glowing eyes as Hope, but older, wiser. She was speaking in the same soft alien language as before. Then something new happened. The projection was translated into English. "If you are hearing this," the woman said, "then my daughter is alive." Jacob leaned closer. "She carries the pendant that records her DNA. If you are human, know this: I trust you, because you chose not to harm her." The message ended. Just those words, nothing else. But that was enough. Jacob stared at the disc. DNA pendant, daughter. Hope's real mother was not just looking. She had planned for this that day. Hope helped Jacob in the garden. She had grown more active, more curious. She watched insects fly, copied birdsong with surprising accuracy, and once even made the chickens follow her like little soldiers. Jacob smiled as she skipped across the grass. But his mind was heavy. He had to know more. He had to know what she was, where she came from, and what danger might be coming. That night, after Hope fell asleep, Jacob took the pendant and drove into town. He went to an old friend, Dealey, a former military tech now. Running a private lab, Jacob didn't trust anyone else. Eli looked at the pendant under 10 different scanners. He raised an eyebrow halfway through. "This isn't from any known metal," he said. "No Earth origin. The energy reading is weird. Like it's not even powered by a battery." "Can you scan the DNA inside it?" Jacob asked. Eli hesitated. "I can try, but I'll need time. Come back tomorrow." Jacob nodded and left before anyone could notice. The next morning when he returned, Eli looked pale. "What did you bring?" "Me?" he asked, holding the pendant with gloves. "Why?" Jacob asked sharply. "Because whatever this is, it reacted to the scan." The power surged briefly then. Something connected to it. Signal went out, not through satellites, through deep space. Jacob's blood ran cold. "Can someone trace it?" "I already did," Eli said. "I picked up another signal. It's coming here." Back at the farm, Hope was drawing pictures with sticks in the dirt, shapes, stars, curved lines like maps. When Jacob returned, she smiled and held up her drawing. He crouched and looked at it. The picture showed 2 figures, one large, one small, holding hands under a tree. Then beside them a shadow figure with long arms and no face. Jacob pointed to the shadow. "Who is that?" Hope pressed her fingers together and pointed to the sky. "Bad?" he asked. She nodded. Later that evening, a buzzing noise filled the air. Jacob stepped outside and saw it, small, black, floating silently. Drone, not military. Something stranger. Sleek, round edges, glowing red lens in the center. It hovered near the barn, then turned toward the house. Before Jacob could move, it spoke. Not with a machine voice, but with Hope's voice. "You took my child. Now return her." Jacob froze. Hope came outside and saw the drone. She let out a sharp cry and stepped back. Her hand lit up with soft white light. The drone scanned her. Lights blinked rapidly. Then it powered down and dropped. Jacob ran to it, grabbed it, and threw it into the back of his truck. He would bury it in pieces. Hope stood still, breathing fast, eyes wide. Jacob knelt beside her. "You know what that was?" She pointed to her chest, then to the stars, and shook her head. "Not my mother," she said slowly. It was only 2 words, but they carried weight. Hope was learning. Hope was remembering. That night, Jacob locked every door, every window, kept a rifle beside his bed, because now he knew. Hope wasn't just an alien girl. She was something someone as powerful had lost stand. They were coming to take her back, and they didn't care who stood in the way. A low rumble passed through the ground before the morning even broke. Jacob stepped out onto the porch with a mug in his hand, but he never got the chance to sip. Birds were gone. Trees stood still. Even the wind had stopped. The sky was heavy. With something he couldn't explain, Hope came out slowly behind him. Her bare feet didn't make a sound on the wooden floor. Her eyes were already looking up. She whispered one word. Coming. Jacob's gut tightened. He scanned the horizon, searching for anything movement, shadows, lights, but everything looked normal. That was what scared him most. Back inside, packed a small bag. Water, food, flashlight, blaster. Hope helped silently, placing one last item on top of the bag, a folded drawing of a star system. Her home, maybe. Do we run? He asked her. Looked at him, then at the floor, and shook her head slowly. No run. Hide. She opened a trapdoor under the carpet. Out. Jacob hadn't even known it was there. The girl had made it while he was asleep. Smart, hidden, reinforced with metal strips. Inside were blankets, canned food, and a light source made from parts of the fallen pod. He stared at it, amazed. You did this? Hope nodded once, prepared. Before they could speak again, the world changed. The sky turned orange. Then, deep red. A roaring sound cracked across the valley. Jacob rushed out again and finally saw it hovering just above the forest was a dark ship, shaped like a dagger, sharp and silent. No sound came from its engines. It simply floated there, casting a shadow that stretched over the entire field. The animals panicked. Birds flew into windows. His dog howled and hid beneath the bed. Hope fell to her knees and pressed her forehead. To the ground, her hands began to glow again. White lines moved up her arms and across her cheeks. Jacob ran to her. Hope, what's happening to you? She didn't answer, but her body shook. The air around her buzzed like static. Suddenly a voice echoed from above. Deep, mechanical, ancient. Subject located. Life signature confirmed. Prepare for retrieval. The ship sent down a beam of red light scanning the entire house. Grabbed Hope and pulled her into the hidden space. He covered the door and turned off all lights. The red beam passed overhead, then stopped. Silence returned. Then came a knock. Not on the door but inside his head. A psychic push, a whisper in his thoughts. You are protecting what is not yours. Jacob gritted his teeth and whispered back. She chose to stay. That makes her mine. No reply came. But outside, the ship began to change shape. Plates moved, opening what looked like hangar doors. Dozens of thin, spider-like machines descended. Their legs clicked against the ground. Their eyes glowed. With the same symbol Hope had crossed out on the floor, Hope reached into her pocket and pulled out the pendant. She pressed it to her chest again. This time, her eyes turned gold-blazing, powerful. Jacob had never seen her like this. She stood, tall, her small body shaking from power building inside her. Then she walked toward the door. Jacob grabbed her arm. No, you're not going out there. She looked at him with tears in her eyes, but her voice was steady. They want fear. I give them strength. The machines reached the edge of the porch. Hope opened the door and stepped into the light. At first, nothing happened. The machines paused, like waiting for a command. Hope raised her glowing hand and pointed to the sky. I am not property, she said in clear English. The machines made a high-pitched screech and charged. Jacob stepped forward with his blaster, aiming carefully. He fired. One machine exploded in a burst of sparks. Another leaped forward, but Hope raised both hands. A white wave burst from her body, throwing every machine backward like leaves in a storm. The ship above trembled. The red beam flickered. Hope fell too. Her knees. Her energy drained. Jacob ran to her, scooped her up, and ran inside. The machines were regrouping. He could hear them crawling back, faster now. He grabbed a flare gun from the emergency shelf, then he fired it into the sky. A signal. A cry for help. He didn't know who would answer. But someone had to. The machines stopped again. Then, from far above, a second ship arrived. Sleek, silver, beautiful. It didn't attack. It simply broadcasted one word into the air. Mother. Hope opened her eyes, smiled faintly. and whispered, "She's close." Jacob looked at the ship, heart pounding. The real mother was coming, but whose side would she be on? The silver ship hovered above them, glowing like a second moon. It didn't fire, it didn't scan, it simply waited. Hope sat on the porch steps, weak but calm, wrapped in the blanket Jacob gave her. Her golden eyes stayed fixed on the ship. She knew who it belonged to. She could feel it not in her mind but in her blood. Jacob stood beside her with his blaster ready, not pointing it at the ship, but not lowering it either. He didn't know what would come out of it, but if anyone tried to take her by force, it'd have to go through him. The door on the silver ship opened. A tall woman stepped out. She looked like Hope's same purple skin, same golden eyes, but older, regal, dressed in armor that shimmered like starlight. Around her shoulders, a cloak fluttered even without wind. Her presence was powerful, but her face was soft. Hope stood up on shaky legs. Her hands gripped the wooden rail tightly as the woman stepped onto the ground and walked toward her slowly. No guards, no weapons. Just her. Jacob moved forward protectively, but Hope touched his hand. It's her. The woman stopped a few feet away and dropped to one knee. "My daughter," she said, voice steady but full of pain. "I have searched every star to find you." Hope didn't speak. She looked at Jacob, then back at the woman. The mother reached into her armor and pulled out a second pendant. It matched Hope's. "They tried to kill me. Hope. They said you were dead. I only survived because I ran. I've been running ever since." Jacob's grip on his blaster loosened. This didn't look like an enemy. This looked like a mother who had lost everything. Hope stepped forward slowly. The woman opened her arms wide. They embraced. Silent. Long. Tight. Jacob watched with mixed feelings. He was happy for her, but something inside him felt heavy. When they pulled apart, the mother stood tall again. Her eyes shifted to Jacob. "You kept her safe," she said. "You protected her." "I owe you a life debt." Jacob shook his head. "I didn't do it for a reward. She's family." The mother tilted her head slightly. "But she is not yours." Hope suddenly stepped between them. "I choose," she said, voice louder than before. "I choose both." The woman blinked. "What do you mean?" Hope turned to her mother. "You are my blood, but he is my heart." She looked at Jacob. "You are both my family." The silence was deep. Then the mother gave a slow, respectful nod. "Then I will not take you. I will stay." Jacob stared. "What?" "I will live here," she said, "among you, until I understand the world my daughter chose." Jacob didn't know what to say. Part of him wanted to shout yes. Another part was unsure. Hope looked between them. "Try," she whispered. Later that night, the mother walked through Jacob's small home. She touched the wooden walls, examined the tools, sniffed the food cooking on the stove. "I never imagined my daughter would sleep on such a world," she said. "But she looks happy." Jacob poured tea for both of them. "She is happy," he said. "And she's not a prisoner. She's free." The mother nodded. "That's why she is strong." They sat at the table while Hope rested in the other room. Then the mother leaned in, her tone changing. "They are not finished." Jacob tensed. "Who?" "The ones who sent the machines. They are part of a faction that wanted me dead. They will not stop. They don't care about her, they care about what she carries." Jacob's voice lowered. "And what is that?" "She is heir to a throne they fear. In her blood is the right to unite 5 systems. With her alive, they lose power."
Ow, Jacob.
Breathed in slowly, "So they'll come again." "Yes," she said, stronger. "And next time, they won't just send machines." Jacob stood. "Then we prepare." She looked up at him. "You'd fight for her against starborn assassins?" He met her eyes without blinking. "I already have." She stared at him for a long time, then smiled. "You're a strange human." Nodded. "And you're a very tall alien queen." They both laughed. It was quiet but real. Hope peeked from the hallway, smiling at them in that moment. They weren't soldier and farmer, or alien and human. They were just 3 broken souls, trying to build a family, but far beyond the stars, Black ships were already moving, and the next visitors wouldn't knock. Hope laughed as she danced barefoot across the wet grass, the morning sun warming her face. She chased the wind, arms wide like wings, golden eyes full of light. Jacob watched from the porch, arms crossed, a soft smile on his face. Inside the house, her mother stood near the kitchen window, silent, holding a steaming mug in her hand. She watched her daughter too, but not with joy. With fear. She's forgetting who she is, the mother said without turning. Jacob glanced at her. No, she's remembering who she wants to be. The alien queen didn't answer. She just sipped the bitter root drink she had made using herbs from the forest. The human foods still confused her. They were too simple, too soft. But her daughter liked the man that mattered. Days had passed since she chose to stay. She no longer wore armor, just a long, dark robe that shimmered faintly under sunlight. She helped clean the house, chopped wood with Jacob, and repaired their small power system, using parts from her own ship. But the house was not big enough for all the feelings inside it. One night, while Hope slept curled in her bed, the two adults sat outside, beneath the stars. You raised her as your own, the mother said, staring at the sky. Jacob nodded. She came to me broken, scared. I couldn't walk away. She was supposed to be strong. I trained her before she could even speak. Strength isn't just fighting, Jacob replied. Sometimes it's staying soft, even when the world turns hard. The mother looked at him. Her golden eyes shimmered. You love her, like a daughter, Jacob said. With every breath, she turned her gaze away. Then you'll have to prove it. Before he could ask what she meant, a sound cut through the quiet. A high-pitched scream, Hope. They ran inside. She was thrashing in her bed, eyes wide open but not seeing, voice shaking, hands glowing with too much light. Jacob rushed to her side. Hope, I'm here. She didn't calm down. The mother stepped forward and placed her fingers on the sides of Hope's head. She whispered in her own tongue, a soft chant that slowed Hope's breathing. Slowly, the light faded from the girl's hands. Her body relaxed. She saw something, the mother said. A vision. Jacob looked at the girl's trembling hands. Kind of vision. The mother closed her eyes. They're close. Closer than we thought. The next morning, they began to prepare. Jacob turned the barn into a shelter. Reinforced. The walls set traps near the forest edge. Wired the land with motion sensors. The queen, too, added her own defenses, cloaking dust spread in the fields. Plasma shock poles hidden in tree roots, and a warning orb placed under Hope's bed. They didn't tell the girl much, just that it was a game. A game where the goal was to stay safe and silent. But Hope wasn't fooled. That evening, she walked up to Jacob while he fixed the fence. If something happens, she said, will you protect her too? Jacob paused. You mean your mother? Hope nodded. She has no one else. Jacob knelt in front of her. I promise. I'll protect both of you. Her eyes filled with tears. Even if it means they take me. No, he said firmly. They won't take you. Not while I'm alive. That night, the moon turned red. The sky was silent, but the air buzzed like a storm was coming. At midnight, the warning orb pulsed 3 times under Hope's bed. The queen opened her eyes instantly. She dressed in armor, again her robe falling to the floor. She grabbed her twin blades and stepped outside. Jacob followed with his blaster, locking the door behind him. At the edge of the forest, 3 shapes emerged, tall, cloaked in shadows. With long arms and glowing red eyes, not machines, not soldiers, hunters. The queen stepped forward, blades drawn. You are trespassing royal territory, one of the creatures hissed. The girl belongs to us. Jacob raised his blaster. You'll leave empty-handed. The leader spread his hands wide. You are a human farmer. You think you matter in a galactic war. I matter to her, Jacob said. And that's enough. Without another word, the creatures attacked. The fight was chaos. The queen moved like lightning, her blades singing through the air, slicing energy bolts before they landed. Jacob fired with precision, taking out the second hunter who tried to flank her. But the third one got past them, both rushing straight toward the house. Hope stood in the doorway, her hands glowing again. She didn't run. She didn't hide. She raised her arms and shouted one word. Enough. A burst of white energy exploded from her body, pure light. Pure will. The hunter stopped mid-run, frozen in place. Then it dropped, silent, never moving again. Jacob and the queen stared in awe. Hope lowered her hands, breathing hard. I protect myself, she said, but she still fell into Jacob's arms. And as he held her close, he whispered, I made a promise, and nothing in the universe would make him break it. Smoke drifted over the field like morning fog. The hunters were gone. Their bodies faded into ash as the sun rose. Nothing but scorched ground and broken branches marked where the final battle had happened. Jacob sat on the porch steps, holding a cloth to the cut on his arm. Blood soaked the sleeve of his shirt, but he didn't care. His eyes stayed fixed on the small figure lying asleep inside Hope. Breathing slow, safe for now, the queen moved silently beside him. Her armor was scratched and darkened from the fight, but her movements were sharp and proud. She did more than either of us, Jacob said without looking at her. She ended it. The queen nodded, and she became what she was born to be. Shook his head. No. She became who she chose to be. The queen studied his face for a long moment. Then she spoke carefully. She is old enough to decide. She carries royal blood. If she returns to my world, she will have armies at her side. She will live like a goddess. Jacob looked down. And if she stays here? The queen's voice softened. She will live a quiet life with a man who gave her love, not power. They both knew the truth. The choice was not theirs to make. That evening, Hope woke up. She sat quietly at the table, sipping warm soup. Listening to the soft music Jacob played on the old radio, Queen sat across from her. Jacob stood by the stove. I had a dream, Hope said finally. I stood between two suns. The queen leaned forward. And which one did you walk toward? Hope looked at them both. Her eyes glowed gently. I took both hands, silenced. Then Jacob pulled out a small backpack. I fixed it up, in case. You want to go with her? Hope stood. She walked to him and placed her hands on the backpack. I want to visit, she said, but not stay. I want to learn what I am, but I want to live where I am loved. The queen lowered her eyes. And if I stay, Hope smiled, then I'll never be split again. Jacob looked at the queen. You don't have to leave either. Queen took a deep breath. I have no throne anymore, no army. My enemies are gone, but so is my world. Hope took her hand gently. Then let this be your world. The next day, villagers gathered near Jacob's farm. Rumors had spread. Strange lights, shouting, thunder without storms. Jacob stepped out with Hope, and the queen behind him. People asked questions. He gave simple answers. A wild animal, he said. We scared it off. The villagers didn't believe it, but no one pushed. They saw the fire damage. They saw the strange metal poles standing in the fields. They also saw the girl calm, healthy, smiling, and the tall, regal woman who never left her side. In time, they stopped asking. Weeks passed. Hope learned both languages. She taught Jacob how to use the pendant's light to make the plants grow faster. She helped the queen build a communication tower out of scrap and old wiring. It's hidden inside a windmill. They didn't call anyone, but they listened. One night, a signal came through, a soft voice speaking the queen's name. She answered it with calm words and ended the call with a gentle goodbye. Hope looked up. Friends. The queen shook her head. Old ghosts. That winter, snow covered the land. Jacob built a new room for Hope, painted by her choice, sky blue with golden stars. On the ceiling, she called it homeroom. Every night, she lay between her two pillows, one stitched by Jacob, one crafted from alien silk by her mother. She kept both. On the first day of spring, the three of them stood outside the house, looking up at the stars together. The queen broke the silence. She will be both. Jacob nodded. She already is. Hope reached up and took both their hands. "I am Hope," she said, "born from stars, raised by earth, loved by two hearts." No more ships came, no more hunters followed, just wind through the trees, music from the radio, and laughter inside a house that once held only silence. Hope didn't belong to one world. She belonged to love, and love had chosen her first.